On my vlogs online, I'm up to 1,700. It's going over 50,000 views. I'm doing it in a way that YouTube isn't screwing with me, because when I reposted some in the past, it was supposed to go over 40,000 and it didn't even go over 30,000. So, as I'm doing that, I'm noticing there's a few series that are not finished. One of the most important ones, and it's starting to get in my mind again, is the Monty Hall problem. It's mathematics, but it's more than just mathematics, and that's why I gotta get back to it to explain to people that are only experts in mathematics about the parts they're missing that isn't mathematics. And that was the whole point. Anyways, this one is part 3 of the going to the local debates here, where there was a conservative, NDP, and a supernatural party, except it's not supernatural, it was supernatural. But I mean, Elizabeth May is also a supernatural party, so you know, you can't wear a cross and not be with the supernatural party. So there is a difference between what they prioritize, but it's still cognitive dissonance. Anyways, so I wanted to say that there will be another vlog that's not specific to this series of 3, but it's what I decided to do as an independent social scientist who can use himself as a unique case study. When a few hours before the polls were closing, I sent an email. I'll report on that later. This one is related to the candidates that were there, that were obviously happy to finish early, by 2 candidates being missing, by Tom Barker, the great editor of this black press path of least resistance, pretending they're offering real news. And I put in a question written down. I took a picture of it so I could put that picture of it on Facebook. And I also made sure the people in charge with the Chamber of Commerce knew, because they said, where should I put it? They said, go put it in a basket. Now, there might have been one before that was taken away from the basket in their hands, and they might have just wanted one. But the thing is when they finish early, and I'm there, and I'm raising, say, hey, you know, I'd like to call you on something, Tom Barker, because he just praised the 3 candidates for not calling him on, him skipping their intros, making that mistake as the master of ceremonies for what is a fake debate. It's not a real debate. And I mean, you can notice the patterns of the questions asked and not asked, that either they all agreed or some put a lot of pressure that the questions would be a particular way. So it doesn't surprise me that none of them kind of stood up and say, hey, democracy means every voice matters, and the question, this guy showed up and he wrote down a question. Nobody of the 3 did that. Now let's say they had not been argumentative. Let's say all 3 had said, hey, yep, we got time before we, you know, meet the elder at McDonald's or whatever. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about, if you're a good listener. And I would have said, hey, okay, here's one that's good for the 3 of you, and I hope you know what day I'm talking about, like what date it was. So what did you guys do on Earth Day, and what does it mean to you? That could have been it. But because they're argumentative, not in the sense that they're fair in their argumentation, but they're, you know, always kind of imposing their own way, right? So I would have asked the conservative guy, say, hey, you said, which was the most offensive thing I heard in some of your misinformation, that you would follow the science. Okay, so can you agree in front of everybody here, if you get voted in, and of course it's so redneck here you would get voted in, is can you agree to use one of the most important resource we have in this territory, and you know, ask David Suzuki, when you have to make a decision and involve science, which is pretty much everything, ask David Suzuki, in a transparent way. Like you can put it on a website, you asking them what the answer is, and you voting or choosing priorities in that way. That would have been his question. And then the next question would be the NDP. Say, hey, you mentioned collaboration. But hey, how come you didn't contact me back when I met you, I think more than a year ago, at the multicultural celebration where I paid $25 for a ticket, and I tell you, I wasn't one of the first ones called to get to the table, and also talking to him, he was really into it, and then I said, I'm sorry, you got my coordinates there, I'd like to get back to you, I'd like to help you, work with you, volunteer, help you. And but I had to, you know, like take advantage of a buffet of things I haven't eaten in a long time, in nutrients that I couldn't get in my poor man diet. You know, if you understand the importance of that, if you really understand, let's say, poverty or homelessness or things like that. And then I would say, well, why didn't you collaborate with me? Because I tell you, it might have possibly made a difference for who was going to win. And yet, you know, maybe he thought I was rude as an elite to kind of favor going to the food table before everything was run out because it was getting low. And that again means he can't reference the outside world of who he'd be collaborating with, right? Somebody who like needs to not have wasted $25 to talk to you without any evidence that you would understand or take advantage of who it was you were meeting for your own needs as an MP. And the third one was Christian, and Christian is the most offensive thing he said. The Christian Party is they value human rights, and for me, I mean, I keep posting data, even though I'm uninterested in the subject, about how they're hypocrites when it comes to human rights, because they're not equal. Still, not just in the old days, where even one professor I had in college said, even in my time, there were books in a public school that we were given where there was different criteria of human, and you know, like indigenous wasn't very high up there, but there was also like a difference. But the thing is they still act like this today, and it's not necessarily as much on the color of skin as much as it is on whether you're one of us, right? One of us sheep, and especially one that's from our church or a different church, is totally different when it comes to human rights, the way they're treated and the way they're honored, human rights. So that would have been the three questions, because they were, you know, disrespectful to my voice, that they don't really want, they just want a notch. But somebody that stands up in an assertive way and can communicate in a competent way, is it really doesn't fall under their base. So even though it's still a vote, they weren't able to identify with me. Isn't that sad about what the Canadian culture, the underdeveloped proto-society here that considers we have such a thing as democracy? Isn't it sad that that's what happened, which was very predictable to what I've been talking about for years?